Welcome to New Life Live, the premier place to receive free advice from Christian psychologists and counselors for the mental, emotional, relational, and spiritual challenges you face. Since 1988, we've offered compassionate responses that combine God's truth with proven psychological principles to guide you toward healing. Our phone lines are open. Call us now at 1-800-229-3000.
Welcome to another week of New Life Live. I'm your host, Brian Perez, and it's Monday. We're going to be here for 2 hours today to answer whatever concerns you might have, whatever's going on in your life. We would love to hear about it at 1-800-229-3000. Maybe you're upset about who won the Super Bowl yesterday. We can talk about that. 1-800-229-3000. And answering your questions today, we've got a couple of licensed marriage and family therapists, Chris Williams and Marc Cameron. How you guys doing?
Hey, good to be here.
Yeah,
Great.
Good to have you. Yeah, so what's on your mind, Marc, as we start today's program?
Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, I turned on my upstairs heating unit only to find out that it was blowing cold air. Now, I know it's February, and so we have 2 heating units, so we've been relying on the downstairs one, and since hot air rises, it'd been working out for us, but I turned it on, and it was blowing cold air, so I thought, okay, I got to get this fixed. So I called out a company that I'd used in the past. They came out, they checked it out. They said, I think it's the motherboard, and we need to change that out. It's going to cost you about $1,000 to do that. Now, my neighbor's a contractor, and he suggested me a person who he used. And this guy came over, and he checked it out. After about 5 minutes, he was like, your air conditioning is turning on when you're setting it to heat. So something was going on with my smart thermostat, so it wasn't so smart. It must have had an update or something like that. And so all it needed really was just the factory reset that I just did myself and solved it. So
and you saved $1,000.
Well, $75, $1,000 minus $75, but $75 versus $1,000. So that got me thinking. Whatever you misdiagnose, you mistreat. So. There's many people who misdiagnose their relationship problems. They switch out their partners, like I was going to switch out my motherboard here, only to find the same problem recurs because the same thing would have happened for me. So instead of checking if there's something inside of themselves that they actually need to reset. So Proverbs 26:11 says, as a dog returns to its vomit, so a fool repeats their folly. So unless you do an autopsy on your last relationship, you'll drag that dead body into your new relationship and you'll repeat the process. So you need to have a relationship plan. Good relationships happen on purpose, not by accident. However, many people still rely on the discovery method by accident or in the right place. I'm going to find that right person instead of trying to cultivate the right relationship. Now, we tell many callers to get into therapy. Why do we do that? Because we're wanting them to do an autopsy on their past history so they can figure out what is going on in my life. Why do I keep picking this partner? Why does this relationship recurring pattern keep happening for me? So Proverbs 22:3 says, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. So even if you're not planning on calling the show today to talk to us on air, if you find yourself continually repeating patterns, getting into bad relationships, give us a call. Let us connect you to a counselor because we have a network, and that person can help you do an autopsy on your relationship histories so you can begin to see danger and learn to take refuge.
Marc, I think that's so wise because when we diagnose the wrong problem or when we address the wrong problem, we were always going to come up with the wrong solution.
Yeah.
And so many times we're like looking for, is this the right person or that the right person? And not asking the question, what makes a right relationship? And what's inside of me that is contributing to healthy relationship or contributing to things that are unhealthy? Because wherever I go, I bring whatever I have.
You certainly do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is why you need a relationship plan, and we can help you with that.
Yes, we can at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or if you'd like to talk to Marc or Chris, 1-800-229-3000 is the number. Especially if maybe you recently got out of a relationship and you're already thinking of diving into another one. Hang on, not so fast. We gotta maybe fix a few things. Make sure you don't wind up with the same kind of person. 1-800-229-3000.
The Take Your Life Back course is for people who need to know their own power in repairing their life. There's a phrase in recovery, we say, work your side of the street. A lot of times we get focused on what has been done to us and we get all over into that side. And yet the work that we have to do is our side. It's what we need to do to understand what healing looks like for us. What are the changes that we need to engage in? We want to find that power that God has given us to live the life that's transformed, that's whole and healthy.
If codependency, regret, toxic relationships, bad habits, and unhealthy patterns are holding you back, New Life's Take Your Life Back 12-week course will help you finally break free. It's time to stop letting the past define you beginning April 7th and take your life back. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
1-800-229-3000 is the number to call us today. Nancy, we're going to go to you in just a moment, but first I want to let you guys know about a tip sheet that we are offering right now. And to get this tip sheet, all you got to do is call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and we will send it to you. And this tip sheet was co-written by Chris Williams, who's in the studio with us today. It's called What to Do When You Get Triggered. So what led you to write this up?
You know, one of the things that gets us in trouble is that when we get emotionally overwhelmed, especially with what we refer to as negative emotions, and oftentimes they hijack our lives and then also create pain. But triggers oftentimes are treated as mysteries. And I'm like, they're not mysterious. Much like Mark was talking about with understanding an autopsy, or I would refer to it as an audit. I need to understand why I'm reacting in certain situations to certain people, because I may be able to actually change that. But most importantly, I don't want to suffer myself and I don't want to cause more harm in the relationship. So let's get into these tips on what to do when we find ourselves emotionally charged in certain situations that maybe just not need be.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it crazy how you can be having a great day, your morning starts off good, you get up on time, everything, but one little thing can set you off, and it just, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that happens to, but you know, you get in the car and you realize, I didn't fill up the gas tank. Now I've got to go stop at the gas station, and now so it's just those little stresses.
No, it's not just you. It happens to us all. And triggers are reminders or associations in the present of something that happened to us in the past, and then we react. React is two words: re for repeat, and then act. So we do this repeated action that we felt saved us last time, but oftentimes it's an overreaction.
Yeah.
Well, and again, it's so important. Just this last week, I was working with a vice president of a multinational corporation, and he was darn near close to losing his job because his triggers were showing up in meetings. Now, he's very gifted and very valuable to the company, but the way he was acting towards other people in his triggers was putting his job at threat.
Wow.
And so that's just one small example of why we want to address these things.
So get your hands on this tip sheet by calling us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Again, it's called What to Do When You Get Triggered. And now we're going to go to the phones, because that's what we do when we get phone calls at 1-800-229-3000. Here is Nancy in Anaheim, who's watching us on YouTube. Let's wave to Nancy. Thanks for calling in today. Thanks for watching us.
Hi, thank you for picking up my phone. I'm Nancy from Anaheim. I have a question. You're talking about getting triggered, and my husband and my son, they're easy to get triggered, especially my husband. My son is a high-functioning autistic young adult, currently in intake process with regional center. And my husband denies his special needs, feel he's just very introvert, and just give him some challenge and sometimes push, and he will get better. But that not work. And my son, sometimes he just let out the fact he think, and that would trigger my husband. And I live with both of them. And what can I do? My husband always accused me you are not supportive. I want you stand with me. One line, I say, yes, I agree with you. We are a team. But the way he expressed, I couldn't agree it, and I would not do the same way, and especially if the moment is not right. But my husband will want me to do the same thing, and no matter what moment, he just he need to feel supported at a moment like that. That son, see, we are same line. We are a team. And my son would like to drag me away. He know I help him apply the help, and he will, I would say I'm too weak to, I don't know how to say it, but I want him to be independent. I know he can, and so I don't want to be accused by each side or manipulated by each side. But I live in the same house with them.
Okay.
What can I do? And last night, police came because I was away with my daughter. She lives driving 1.5 hours away. A few days ago, I already told both of them I'm going to stay with the sister. And so they text me, tell me all the things. Through the text, I feel my son get into a very wrong.
Okay, sorry to have to cut you off. I'm getting a lot of background noise there, but you've given us a lot of information so far. Chris and Mark have taken a lot of notes. What questions might you have for Nancy or advice?
Well, I would start off here. What she mentioned, I don't want to feel manipulated by one person or the other. The truth is, Nancy, that you're being manipulated or even hijacked by your own fears. And the conflict in the marriage is about these unaddressed fears going on underneath the surface. What are you afraid of with your son? What is your husband afraid of? And that becomes high-stake issues that your fears are competing with each other. And what I would love for you and your husband to do is talk through your fears. But I would also introduce one other concept of empowering. Empowering people is oftentimes two things working together, and that is a high challenge with high support. And so, Nancy, it sounds like you land on the high support side and your husband lands on the high challenge side. I think both of those are tipped through your fears, if you can talk through it. And there is a way to work together if you can see the advantage of his high challenge and he could see the advantage of your high support and what that means in the details of guiding your son.
Yeah, I literally had written that phrase down here, Chris, under the surface, and I was going to mention that same thing to you, Nancy. You are also being triggered. Chris is explaining this. Your husband's being triggered, but it's above the surface, but you're also being triggered. And every relationship, every marriage has a core pattern, a relational core pattern that when it gets into stress, these two folks will either help co-soothe each other or they will dysregulate each other. And depending upon your attachment style and how you handle stress, that's how the pattern will play out here. And so what I would say to you is I agree with you. Your husband's wanting support, quote unquote support, and he wants you to back him up in this above the surface challenge, which is actually not helpful. So it's not good and it's not healthy to support an emotionally unhealthy reaction. And so maybe you go to your husband and say, hey, listen, I want to be on the same page with you. I want us to be aligned, but let's address this so that we can tackle these challenges in an emotionally healthy way rather than an emotionally unhealthy way. Would your husband be willing to go to couples therapy with you?
So far, he's not. Yeah. But I will try.
Well, yeah, and that's unfortunate. And here's what I would do is I would invite him again. We actually have an intimacy and marriage workshop coming up here, and you're in Anaheim. You're really close. It's this weekend. It's in Orange County, so same county that you're in. So if you can get him to come, I think we probably have openings still.
Yeah.
And it's just a fantastic weekend that will walk you through everything that Chris and I just explained here. But if he's unwilling to go, here's what I would say to you. Go to therapy yourself. You work on your triggers, because you will become a different person, and he will have a different person to deal with in those moments as you become more emotionally secure.
Yes, I will get therapist for myself. And actually, intimacy in marriage, we both experienced it. I think it's 2022. It's also Valentine's weekend in Orange County.
Yeah.
It's powerful. It's helpful. It's we see transformation. And I would say my husband changed a lot after that and through the years. And yes, I will encourage him to go together again.
Yeah, just say that you guys need a booster. Because every marriage needs a booster, and this would be a great booster shot for the marriage. Because, again, going back to, I love for there to be a safe space in between you and your husband to talk through both your fears and your desires in all areas of life, but especially in your relationship with your son. And
that's really encouraging that he changed a lot after going. It showed that the material resonated with him, and so sometimes we just need accountability. You know, there's many people who have already given up on their New Year's resolutions of going to the gym, because that's actually the most popular one. But the reason why it helps going to the gym, if you have a gym buddy or if you have a personal trainer, you're much more likely to continue going. And so sometimes we just fall back into the old patterns, and that's why having a therapist too is a way to have some accountability, as well as create opportunity to practice this stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Do you have a book resource from our library that might work for Nancy and her husband? Any recommendations?
Well, I would send them How We Love if you don't have that already, Nancy.
Okay, How We Love, that is a good one. We will send that out to you, and we hope to see you this weekend at the Intimacy and Marriage Intensive, not far from where you are in Anaheim. You could walk there if you wanted to. Okay, maybe it's not that close, but get all the details at newlife.com and register today for that weekend. It is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Back to the phones. Here is Bobby, who's calling us from Delray Beach, Florida, listening on WPIO. Hi there, Bobby. Thanks for calling in today.
Hi, good afternoon. If it's afternoon there, I'm not sure.
Almost.
Okay. This is kind of off the beaten path. It has nothing to do with relationships, but this has something to do. I just lost my mom in November, and I was her caregiver for like 5 or 6 years. And I kind of like just soaked my whole life into caring for her and helped her transition over. So I also, in the process of that, rededicated my life back to Christ. And so I was reading this verse in the Bible when it was talking about, having self-control and using your body as an instrument or instrument for the Holy Spirit. And I realized, I don't know if it was the Spirit that brought this to my attention, but I realized that I use food for comfort and I overindulge. And I think it came to the surface more where I realized that this is an issue actually after my mom passed. And, I looked at my patterns in the past, and I'm like, yeah, I do eat a lot. And now it's even more so. And I pray and I ask God for self-control, but unfortunately, I always fall back. So I don't know. My question is there books that I could read or scriptures or any advice you can give me for that?
What do you guys think?
Well, Bobby, to start off with, first and foremost, thank you for addressing this. It takes a lot of courage to recognize this, to see it. And also I want you to know that this is a really, really difficult issue, very challenging. In the addictions that I've been able to be a part of in treating, there are two that I find most sticky or difficult. And one of them is sexual addiction. The other one is our food. It could be food addictions, or what we refer to as disordered eating. because it's not like you can just eliminate it. It's that you have to build a new relationship to it. And most likely, food has equaled comfort for you. And that pattern started very, very early in your life. And so food is not fuel. Food becomes your best friend. And so in that, there is much, much deeper patterns going on inside of you, and processes and emotional processes inside of you that really kind of need to be uncovered and looked at for you to be able to have more quote-unquote self-control around your relationship to food, because this is more than just, much, much more than just choosing to eat something or choosing not to eat something.
Okay, so we've got to take a break, but Bobby, we'll come back to you in just a few minutes to continue the conversation. Thank you for calling us today, by the way, and so sorry to hear about the loss of your mother. 1-800-229-3000 is the number to call us with your questions today, and we're going to be here for 2 hours, so there's plenty of time for you to call in and ask your questions of Chris Williams and Marc Cameron.
We went to the intimacy in marriage. We were both done.
Intimacy in marriage, I've witnessed it taking people who were done. We give them information they just didn't have. So many people think, I've done everything. I promise you, you haven't done everything. And when you come to intimacy in marriage, you're going to be immersed into a 3-day process where you take in the information. You have people around you who understand you, who can validate you. But then here's the biggie. You get to practice what you're learning.
The Intimacy in Marriage Weekend is February 14th to the 16th in Orange County, California. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50. 1-800-639-5433.
The transformation, phenomenal. It has transformed our lives so much.
1-800-639-5433 and the discount code NLL. For over 35 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addiction, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
I found a counselor through New Life Ministries, and it's just been outstanding.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first steps toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door for a better tomorrow.
To get someone that's competent, that's good at what they do, it's been like day and night compared to what I've had before.
Call 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Kay and everyone else who's calling in, we will get to you in just a little bit here on New Life Live. Hello, my name is Brian Perez. I'm here with licensed marriage and family therapists Chris Williams and Marc Cameron, and we were speaking with Bobby just a moment ago. Bobby, thank you for calling 1-800-229-3000. So, Marc, I think it's your turn.
Yeah, I'm up. So, Bobby, Chris, Start again. So, Bobby, it's interesting because the first thing that you said is, I'm not calling about a relationship problem. Mm-hmm. And then Chris, one of the phrases he said is, you need to build a new relationship with food. So addictions are non-relational supports that we use to comfort ourselves or numb ourselves to really what are relationship problems. And so learning to build that new relationship with food is also, it's not just about how much you eat and cutting that down, but it's also figuring out what is food comforting me from in a non-relational way. Now we have a group, and we're actually going to be starting them in April. It's called Lose It for Life is going to be one of them. And it's designed to help people figure out what is the it that's underneath that is stopping them from losing it. And it's not just sobriety and better eating habits. Sure, that's part of it. But what's the thing underneath that's driving me toward this? Because if you ever watch the show The Biggest Loser, they get however many people, 12, 15 people, and the person who wins in the end is really slim and thin and fit. But if you follow those folks, many of them put the weight back on again. So it's not about having the head knowledge. It's really about the heart knowledge of what's driving this addiction for me. So I highly recommend you signing up for the Lose It for Life course that we have starting week of April 7th.
Yes, and we also have a book called Lose It for Life. That's the name of the book, right? Yes, Lose It for Life. We will send that out in the mail to you. Also want to let you know about a podcast that we do called Life Recovery Today. It drops every Tuesday. And this past Tuesday, the episode was about food addiction. So that was part 1. Part 2 will drop tomorrow. So you want to look for that wherever you get your podcasts. Again, it's called Life Recovery Today. I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to that podcast, but I listened to it and it was really helpful because we don't realize, like you said, the relationship that we're trying to have with other people. We're just, we use food to try to cope.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's so good.
So, Bobby, stay on the phone and we will connect you with that book. And I think we can also sign you up for the course, the New Life course called Lose It for Life that begins April 7th. And you can go to newlife.com to register for that course and to find out about the others that we're offering as well.
That's so good.
Okay, so back to the phones, and we'll go to Kay in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Hi there, Kay. Congratulations on the Eagles winning yesterday.
Oh, I know. We're still so excited about that. What a big victory. Yeah. Praise God for that. And so many things. The purpose of my call is to see if you might have any guidance or resources that you might be able to suggest. I have been praying for deliverance and healing from chronic insomnia for quite some time. Been seeing doctors. It's not anything like sleep apnea. It's my doctors say really not a candidate for the drugs, and so I've been trying to manage it through different supplements. But things certainly it becomes very challenging with stressful family circumstances, which I've continued to deal with. It can manifest difficulty falling asleep or difficulty waking up early. And I would not be honest if I said that there isn't a psychological component, that's maybe some anxiety about it. Oh, getting up early, am I going to fall back asleep? I've done all the sleep hygiene, really gone to CBT therapy. It's at the point now where it's really affected the quality of life and affected my family, my children. I'm really not the same person. I'm wondering if you might, getting prayer at the church, and when they pray, it goes away, it comes back. It's just been
Kay, let me jump in. What's your biggest fear? What is the fear that dominates you?
Well, we all know the importance of sleep. I don't need to highlight that, and certainly cognitive health is important.
Take away the sleep. Take away the sleep problem. Okay, what is the big fear that you deal with? I'm afraid of what?
Well, impact of some diagnosis or something, whether cognitive or.
Would you say it's your health, that the biggest fear is that somehow your health is going to fail?
If I don't get that sleep, and it's kind of, I think that's an underlying thing, that I'm trying to sleep, but also there's a lot of trying, but it's not happening.
Because you're right now in. You hear the music, so we'll get to a break here shortly. But before we go there, I just want to say that you're caught up in what we refer to as meta-anxiety. It is anxiety about the anxiety, if that makes sense. And so it keeps you in this cycle that you can't sleep because there's too much anxiety around the sleep itself. Like sleep has almost too much importance, or lack thereof has too much importance. And we know that it's really important, but we're going to head to a break and we'll talk more about it when we come back. But yeah, I really think that we need to address the meta-anxiety here.
So, Kay, we'll come back to you in just a little bit. We've also got Perez and Jean on hold and many others at 1-800-229-3000. I'm so glad we're here for 2 hours today.
Restore gave me strength. It gave me more belief in my faith. I met up with a group of women that are going through things that they had no control over.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Intensive will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
When two people want to do their part, we can be restored. But if they don't, we can still be restored. We are not stuck because someone else made a decision. That God lets us weigh in on how we want to walk out our lives. Our wellness does not hinge on another person's decision.
The Restore Intensive is coming to Dallas, Texas, May 2nd through the 4th. Register online at newlife.com or call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and use the discount code NLL to save $50.
I had a great experience at Restore.
1-800-NEW-LIFE and the discount code NLL.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Let's go back to Kay in Philadelphia, who's calling in with this sleep issue that she's been having. Are you still with us, Kay?
I am.
Great. Thank you for holding through the break.
Well, and Kay, as I was mentioning, there is a lot of this energy around sleep itself. And I think that you have a lot of rules, and maybe a lot of rules in your life, what we call rigid thinking. And things have to align within those. And when they don't, it creates anxiety. But really, beyond that, it oftentimes goes back in something historical. So, Mark, what are you thinking?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, Chris. Okay, fear is learned. There's many studies that will show you that. And so while Chris is right, in the present, you're having this anxiety about needing to fall asleep and then can't fall asleep because you've got so much anxiety. So that's reinforcing each other. But where did that first fear come from? If you could think back to, and again, just less around sleep and just more around the whole concept of fear about outcomes not coming true or not performing for you. If you could think back to that as early as you can in your history, maybe even in your childhood, where do you think that comes from? Did you have a fearful parent, or were you fearful of your parent?
I mean, certainly, yeah. But,
okay, which one?
I think, yeah, I agree. The anxiety is a piece, but there's also a lot of mind chatter. And then there's a way with dealing or coming off of very stressful situations in my family with my children, with my elder parents. And really, I'm the source of support for it. And there's so much stress and that often happens, after 8 o'clock when everyone, like my husband, may need to wind down. I don't get this wind down time, and by the time my kids are in bed, it's like after 10 o'clock.
And so, Kay,
and I'm like, oh.
Okay, what we're trying to do is help you take a more historical look at that. So you're on the right path, but where did you first get that message in your life that you need to be the source of support for others? How far back did that first fall on you?
It's, since a teen, I would suppose.
Mm-hmm. What happened there?
It's just the upbringing with my family, specifically my mom. It's just been, the parenting style, not Christian. I think we're going into kind of some really deep cultural, issues that are, really hard to handle on a call. But
you don't need to get into them all. But that's where I think you'll find some success, because you've done CBT, which really focuses on what they call the cognitive triangle of thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and each one of those can impact the other ones. But I wonder if you can go a little bit deeper than that with a therapist who takes a historical approach and get to the root of where this fear comes from. As you process through that, I wonder if and again, we know what happens in the brain is the brain's able to move these memories from the surface part of our brain in the amygdala to more long-term storage, so that we're not as easily triggered to fear or whatever the reaction is. So stay on the line. Let us connect you to a therapist who takes a historical approach, and try that for 6 months and see what success you get with that.
And I want to reinforce something that you had said, Mark, and that is that this is a learned process, because you're going into something, I think, then she was, Kay, without saying it, you're kind of telling on the process was telling on itself, saying that, like, you're using absolute language. My husband gets to wind down. I have to. All of those have tos are things you've learned that reinforce your stress response system. And your stress response system then learns it has to stay on for everything to be okay. And that's why there's something much deeper that has to be addressed that goes far beyond CBT.
Yeah, the sleep part is just the symptom right now. We're trying to help you get to the root cause so you can finally overcome this. I think probably every believer's thought life will probably be a good resource to send.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we will. So, Kay, stay on the phone and we'll send you a copy of this book. It's called Every Believer's Thought Life. Check that out. Praise in Oregon. We're going to go to you next, but I just saw this note here that I should have mentioned earlier when we were talking about the Intimacy and Marriage Intensive that's happening this weekend in Orange County, California. Here's something that a past attendee said. Being able to go to the terribly uncomfortable places together and come out the other side truly knowing where the other is coming from was such a rewarding experience. It was a painful and scary process, but I'm so glad we took the risk and dived in, because our marriage will never be the same. So they dove in, and now they're no longer divided. This is such a great note that we have here, and this can be you as well. It's open to engaged couples as well. You can find out all about it at newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we can help you get registered. Again, it's this coming weekend. Praise in Eugene, Oregon, who's a first-time caller. Thank you, Praise, for calling in today.
Yes, I'm actually even new to listening to the radio. I've listened to one podcast, but I got a notification and for a question, and I have my main question is how to proceed and deal with my adult children. I have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, and they're in their young 30s. And my youngest is a daughter, 30. She estranged my husband and I about a good 6 months ago. And in the Christmas of 23, we last got all together. And our youngest son, who told me during COVID that him and his wife no longer believe in God, so he's looking at me as that figure. So he's mad at God about something. So he's, at this Christmas party we had together, he's throwing darts at me, trying to get me to blame things on me, and I wasn't accepting it, but it ended up in an argument, unfortunately. And I seems like I come out looking like the bad person. And this is really, I guess it's hard for me because upon getting married, we've been married 35 years, my greatest desire was to have a family. I wasn't brought up in a good family. It was very dysfunctional, and they weren't Christian. And my husband and I were supposedly believers, and we were going to start this new journey, walking with the Lord. And God did call me to homeschool, so I homeschooled our children and thoroughly enjoyed it. The Bible was my springboard, upon even teaching them. And it looked all good. It looked like my kids were flourishing. They even said they would homeschool because they enjoyed it so much. And then my two sons married. This is just prior to COVID, so 2018 and 19, they married. And they would even bring over, before marriage, they'd come over. We would have dinner and games and afterwards. But then 2020 hit. Now, in this, there is a backdrop. So yes, my husband has had sex addiction. The 34. Well, I guess it's still with him, but he was actively practicing 34 out of the 35 years. Now, back before we didn't know what was sex addiction, we really didn't even realize it. I suppose 2009 beginning, but like a decade ago, I should have left my husband. The Lord said I could leave because you broke the covenant,
What kind of addiction are we talking about? What was he involved in?
Sex addiction. Well, pornography is the biggest one, the love lust. He would love on, people at his work continually, my friends. Like, I couldn't bring friends over anymore because he would tell me how he wanted to have sex with them. And
so Praise, let me jump in.
Yeah.
Your children grew up in a really dichotomous situation. And what I mean by that is it was split. There is the dichotomy is that which is over-controlled and that which is out of control, which all addictions thrive in, and unfortunately, and especially sexual addiction. So there's a lot of relational turmoil and relational uncertainty and kind of head spinning because the kids intuitively pick up something's not right, something's off.
Right.
But they're never able to talk about it,
Right.
And you're yes, and you're trying to hold it all together. But there was a key indicator there. You said, hey, there was a lot of blame, right? And you're right, it's probably misplaced. And then you said, I'm not a bad person, and that is an indicator of shame. All of that it shows that there are so many unresolved fears and hurts and resentments in the family underneath the surface that no one's been able to clearly or safely talk about and work through.
Right.
Yeah. And so I would highly recommend that you and your kids see if you can get into family therapy.
Yeah. We will possibly continue this conversation in a little bit. I know we want to look for a resource to send to Praise, and there are several available on the newlife.com store. Also, the Intimacy in Marriage Intensive. You might benefit from that. You and your husband. You live in Eugene, Oregon. Just drive down the coast. It's this weekend here in Orange County, California. And for him, the Every Man's Battle Intensive might be good to attend as well.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are. Club New Life changes lives.
You guys came along into my life in 2022. That was a really, really difficult year of my life.
You can help New Life Ministries provide Christ-centered hope and counseling resources to thousands of people by joining Club New Life today.
I began to really process a lot of things that I've needed to for a long time, and y'all were a very big part of that.
When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, you'll make a difference in the lives of individuals and families with godly counsel and connection to help.
I came out of it having never experienced anything like that, and y'all were there.
Join today and help continue the message of hope to a troubled world.
I knew I had to keep going, and I joined Club New Life, and y'all have been the resource that has now been a light for my wife and I.
Go to newlife.com/CNL, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places.
Keep doing what you do because it makes a difference.
newlife.com/CNL. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Whether you're a longtime listener or a new listener like Perez in Eugene, Oregon, whom we were speaking to right before the break, thank you so much for listening and for watching us online as well, YouTube, Facebook, NRB TV, and we are so grateful for you. Now, we were speaking to Perez, and we wanted to wrap up the conversation. Mark, I think Chris, you had one quick thing to add before we throw it to Mark.
Actually, Mark,
let me jump in real quick. So Chris was talking about these two different parts, the over control and the out of control, and so you can't address your husband's part here and heal that with your kids' praise. But what you can do is you can address your part. Now, my wife and I, we're preparing for a speaking event that we've got coming up in a few weeks. And we went to dinner with my daughter the other night, and we were thinking, hey, we've done a pretty good job in this area. And we said to our daughter, hey, tell us how we're doing here. We're gonna speak about this. And she said, you did a really bad job at that. And it just kind of took us by surprise for a moment. But what we did is, instead of defending ourselves, we said, tell us about that. And we became really curious. And the more she spoke, the more it made sense about her experience. And so we just empathized and validated. And when we got home, I said to my wife, hey, by the way, Caitlin has a point, but just so you know, I think we did do a really good job in other areas. She's just seeing it in a very absolute way. And my wife was able to say, yeah, I know that. So what I would encourage you to do is just to have a listening conversation with your son, even though that there were many things that you did well or that you offset from your husband, saying something to him like, wow, you have a lot of pain. I'd love to hear about that. Can we schedule time for me to hear you? And then just listen and hear him out and validate. Don't defend yourself. And then just say, thanks for sharing that with me. Can I marinate on that before I come back and give you a response? And that can provide some of the healing that he needs to make sense of what happened to him. I think doing life with your adult kids will probably be a good resource. And then, Chris, you had another thought of recovery.
Absolutely. In addition to that, because that's really, really good, Mark, is that you need your own recovery. It's essential. I would say it's actually a non-negotiable. You've been carrying tons of amount of fear and chaos in these traumatic secrets that you've had to manage all of these years. I can't encourage you enough to go to the Restore. I know we've mentioned quite a few, but the Restore workshop, it's not until May, but getting into, it's for spouses, for women who've been betrayed by their husbands or partners. And so I just think that you getting into that betrayal trauma recovery is really, really important. And because eventually what that does is it helps you address the things inside of you that have been unsafe. You get safer, and your kids naturally draw to that.
So stay on the phone and we'll send you a copy of that. You can get all the information about these intensives that are coming up on our website, newlife.com. And for your husband, I mentioned the Every Man's Battle intensive that's happening at the end of February. We also have an Every Man's Battle podcast, and a new episode just dropped today. You can find it wherever you get your podcast. So tell your husband to go look for that podcast. Again, it's called Every Man's Battle. You can find that at newlife.com or on our YouTube channel. Let's go to Lake Placid, New York. Here is Jean, who's listening to us on Sirius XM, channel 131, the Family Talk channel. Thanks for calling in today.
Hi, thank you. How are y'all doing?
Doing well, thanks.
Good. So my issue that I'm calling in about today is, generally speaking, I have been the breadwinner for my husband and I. We do not have children, and I've been doing it well before I met him. We've been married 20 years and together for 25. And, you know, I through my industry that I'm in, I've taken quite a few blows with being laid off through the years. I'm in the mortgage banking space, if you will. And this time around, because I'm older, I just said enough is enough. You know, I'm tired of being at the mercy of employers and the interest rates on this occasion. And I went back to school, and I prayed about it. It was over a year later after having been laid off that I went back to school, and I'm studying hand and foot reflexology. So I am taking that gift of touch and working on people's reflexes to bring about a state of homeostasis within their body, hopefully. You know, that is the goal. Working reflexes. So as we were listening to Kay talk about not sleeping, I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, you know. But anyway, be that as it may, I'm a Christian life coach. I am a health coach as well. And these are my passions, not the mortgage banking space. And I know that the people that God is bringing in my life through my church, the people that I'm working on, if you will, they love it. And they are just thrilled with this different approach to having some homeostasis within their bodies.
Now, Jean,
problem is...
Okay, if you could get to the question a little bit quicker, only because we're running out of time.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yep, I gave you the backstory there, but basically, my husband and I are not on the same page. He is just like, you got to go back to work. You got to have this income coming in. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm doing this for me this time. And so it's just, you can imagine.
So your question is?
Pretty much, how do I walk this out? You know, how do I do this? Do you have resources, scripture? How am I supposed to do this?
And he doesn't want to get a job?
I've done my part. He has a different approach to our work life, his work life. He manages the finances and trades in the market and is a timeshare owner.
Okay.
Well, if you've been the breadwinner here, Jean, of course it benefits him for you to go back to work. But I'm appreciating what you're saying. You've done this for so long. It's a hard industry. There's been a lot of ins and outs, and now you're wanting to discover your passion. And so I think what the problem is the communication. It's healthy relationships know how to compromise, negotiate, flex, take turns, have conversations that have understanding. And so that's where the stuckness is. It's not about maybe what the issue is. It's about how we resolve the issue. And so that's earlier on in the show, I was talking about that every couple has a core pattern. And so it's really important to find out what your core pattern is and work toward emotional security. You may have heard us talk about intimacy in marriage that we've got coming up actually this Friday, if you can make it to that. It's in Orange County. And that really walks through a couple's core pattern, helps them understand their individual attachment style. You're either securely attached or insecurely attached. But the goal is not to flex to each other's insecure attachment. It's to how do we earn secure attachment so that we can have emotionally healthy relationships. And so we can help you learn to do that. And if you can't make it, then let us help you, get you in touch with a therapist who can help you learn how to do that.
Yeah, I wish I could talk. I wish I could talk to your husband too, Jean, and it'd just be like, hey, he's dealing in a very risky, volatile income stream profession, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
And he seems to have an insecure relationship with financial security itself. So you become his security blanket, or your income becomes his security blanket. I would love to tell him, hey man, your wife's income does not need to be your security blanket. But what you do need to do is revision life together moving forward. And that comes in exactly what you're saying.
So he has anxiety there, which, may be legitimate anxiety for him, but it's learning how do we recognize that, acknowledge it, and walk through that together.
Yeah.
So stay on the phone and we'll put you in touch with somebody who can help you with this. And any recommendations from our library that come to mind?
Well, let's send a How We Love.
How We Love. Okay, we will do that. And if you're on hold right now, Carmen, Juan, Joe, everyone else who's calling in at 1-800-229-3000, we're going to be here for another hour. We're going to be recording a future episode of the program, New Life Live. You'll hear it on the radio in a few days. You'll see it on YouTube and Facebook in a few days, but we're going to record it today. So if you're on hold, stay on hold. We'll get to you in just a few minutes. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to keep the phone lines open for another hour, 1-800-229-3000. Thank you so much for listening today, and thanks for calling in on New Life Live. God bless you.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.